And, oh my god, hi! Yes, hello, yes! Today we are welcome to the Live Reality Game Shows podcast. I'm your host Lee. With me, I was about to say as usual, with me tonight is Naomi, my podcast sister forever. We are going to be recovering. Well, one of us will. One of us is going to be recovering about the premiere episode of Survivor Michigan Revenge Tour. We were only spoiled this for the past 6 years. But now finally it is released, and joining us is the iconic first boots. I have to put that in front of it. Akshay from season 1 and season 4. Woo! Akshay, how are
Hi
you
everyone.
doing?
I'm good. It helps that actually all happened 3 years ago and didn't just happen a week ago. But yeah, I'm not doing bad.
Yeah. Hi, Austin in the chat. Three icons. Who's the third?
It's us three, Lee. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm included. Yay.
Actually, thank you for being here. I, as also a first boot of games, know the trauma and the recovery path that it takes. I can't imagine what it must be like for you, but I also appreciate that you are willing to be here and join us and give us some insight because I think your insight's very valuable and very interesting. All the talks you've done so far and Keep Your Torchlit was wonderful, and Sam and Sarah were great. And thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. I think I mentioned on Keep Your Torch that this podcast has existed and I want to be on it. So I called my shot and now I'm here.
Yeah, we actively did not want you until you called us out, and then we're like, damn it, now we have to bring him on to prove him wrong. So here you are, I'm of course joking.
It's my fault. It's all my fault. But also, I'm thrilled that you are here because I was a big fan of you in season one. And I think that I really have a soft spot for the early Michigan seasons because I think that uh, before you become part of like a really big, you talked about how you were the longest production member, like longest running production member, producer on the show. And there's something about watching a thing you've worked on grow and kind of get out of a small group into like a really big thing. And I'm curious from your perspective how you feel seeing sort of even in the 3 years since All Stars happened where Michigan has ended up, and how it compares to just being on season one and being a part of the early days.
Of course. I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit in the season 2 crew pre All Stars podcast of like how season 1 or season 2 at least came to be, and it was a lot of just people who love Survivor and wanted to continue because George and Claire were the legend Claire, the Amazing Race champion Claire, were going to be graduating. So it just came out of nowhere, and the first season was just George and Claire, and then sometimes George's parents, and then season 2 there were 8 of us. Season 3 there were over 20. Season 4 there were probably close to 40. But if anyone's seen the season 4 crew podcast, they know that led to its own chaos. And then the post season 5 and more season 6 was its own transition period, just because you had all the people that were kind of just there to play All Stars. They didn't come back, obviously. And then season 6 was just the massive graduation of so many. Like that's the Cooper, Leia, all of them were gone by that year. So and then of course COVID happened, so that always helps. But then season 7 was like the tough one. It was like was it gonna come back off the ground just because of everyone leaving? And it was a much smaller crew again. I would say it's probably closer to the season 2 and 3 numbers for season 7. But I think it came out wonderfully, as good as it could during COVID. And I think it probably brought the passion back for a lot of people, and especially a lot of those players I know continued on in production. And Survivor Michigan is going strong today.
Yeah, that's good to hear. You definitely know, like, when things go on, it sometimes goes downhill, and 40 people in one production, that's just asking for a shit show to happen, which it did. We all saw season 4.
It totally did.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
season 4
Yeah.
was its own
Yeah.
as boring as it may have been to us, a lot of us, just watching, a steamroll happen on screen, it was total chaos behind the camera. And the fact that Ian is such a good editor that it didn't really come across it's his genius, and really nothing else.
Yeah.
Well,
shout out to Ian for editing all these, and definitely already doing more than enough with season 5.
editing is a lot. I like in the behind the scenes we could see Ian yelling at people, which I think is extremely relatable, and people don't talk about enough. Yelling at people, part of making a fake Survivor game and making everybody shut up and listen, please. And actually, I wanted to ask you, like, when you were experiencing seasons 2, 3, 4, was All Stars as heavily on your mind as it seemed to be on other people's minds, or were you present in the I would like this season to be a good season of Survivor?
Yeah, I think I mentioned it on one of the pre All Stars podcasts where it was just like the excitement of being a Survivor fan, and also seeing Survivor Maryland at that point, and seeing seasons 2, 3, and 4 had been released by the time our season 1 was finished. So it's like, clearly I know this can be a multi-season thing, and knowing we had just a good start, like I knew, just personally, totally biased, but still, that season 1 was very exciting. And I knew that we had like a good launching pad, that like people that watch that, they have a good chance of staying on. And yeah, no, I would say All Stars only really creeped into my mind slightly when we were producing season 4. And even then, it was very much back burner. It was like, let's try and produce the best season possible, and we did not. But season 5, I think season 5 is probably the best season that Survivor Michigan's ever had up to this point. So I'm excited to see the rest of it as a fan now.
Yeah, well, we all know my opinions of season 4. Just read the comments section.
Lee's very intense. Well, actually, that brings me to another question, which you had talked about a little bit in Keep Your Torch Lit, and I want to kind of dive into more, because you were my producer's dream, which was I will not pregame. I don't believe in breaking the sanctity of, like, I got cast and when we show up we start to play. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that, because I think it's almost at this point something that producers like can't overcome, because there are people who take the game too seriously and want to pregame rather than enjoying the game in the moment. And I would love to hear how you feel, and your sentiments on like pre-gaming and how it affected you, because I think it definitely did affect what we saw in this episode, but we weren't able to see the beginnings of it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Keep Your Torch Lit. I think it was a combination of naivety and being a producer for 3 seasons, where our casting email every time says, if you think you know someone that is cast on the season, do not reach out to them until day 1. And so I just kind of held to that standard, and we got that same message in our cast email, our official casting email. So I just kind of assumed, clearly falsely, that everyone would hold to that same standard. And I think it proved very, very costly, because there was clearly, I mean, episode 0 hasn't been released yet, but I think once you get that, like, even me, I didn't hear anything until 3 o'clock the day of. Aaron just mentioned me as a friend and was like, all of this stuff has been happening and it could be you, and the day 1 vote off that didn't happen. So
we all knew that was fake. Well,
yeah,
all the audience members knew it was fake.
Yeah, all the audience members knew it was fake just because it was edited too obviously. For us, it was, I mean, we were given hints, which were clearly fake, by the producers, suggesting a cast of 23 and a day 1 vote off. And most people, I think, took it as gospel that those 2 things were just going to be true, because why would producers say something and have it be a lie? And I think it also didn't help that when those messages got sent out, the ones that were stating cast of 23 and day 1 vote off, I was in Africa. So literally just no signal, no service. I got back the weekend before classes started, straight from Africa to Detroit, Michigan, to Ann Arbor, Michigan. It was very chaotic. So there was really, like, there was negative pre-gaming from my side. And that's potentially another reason why once everyone was just like, oh, like let's reach out to people. I didn't get any messages from anybody just because I wasn't receiving messages. I barely received, like I had like 10 minutes of Wi-Fi a day, maybe if I was lucky, and even then it was really bad. So yeah, it ended up proving very costly. I've heard since that I probably actually don't go home in the day one vote off, even though the episode made it seem like I was very consensus going home. But I think that put my name in people's mouths when it wasn't, and I think it ended up proving very costly in the end.
Yeah.
Lee, I have a question for you, and then I have a question for the same question is I think that pre-gaming, I hate it. First of all, I hate it. I think it's a really toxic way for people who are already pretty involved with people who are going to play to just cement themselves even more, and it leads to no variance. But Lee, here's my hot take. I think that if you pre-game to win, you're not as good a player as you think you are. And I'm wondering, Lee, if you agree with that or don't agree with that, because I think it just, if someone pre-games their way to the final and win, I hate it. And I don't know how you feel, Lee.
Oh yeah, I absolutely hate it as well. As somebody who has been victim to pre-gaming a good few times, it sucks. It is something in this community that's kind of inedible. In words, it's bound to happen, especially in an all-star season because you have pre-existing relationships and stuff like that. But yeah, if you pre-game to win, you're not a good player. You're not even a player. You're just, okay, who am I friends with? It's like, it's very just, all right, who has the most friends? Who's the popular one? Oh my god, I'm winning. Because we've all seen that. Like, it's similar to bitter jurors. Are you voting someone because they play best, or are you voting for someone just because you're their friend?
Sure.
So yeah.
Interesting, because
Yeah,
I think I actually actively did not pregame. Like I think there were conversations that I was having with certain people that could have led to pregaming that I actually like took a step back and went, I don't want to say this because this constitutes pregaming. And looking back, obviously, I'm sure no one else was doing that. But it just came to like you're saying, the sanctity of Survivor, just wanting to hold to the rules, and assuming everyone else would want to hold to the rules. If you notice in some of the missing scenes at Tribal, they were just like, yeah, we're all stars. We've done this before. We've been on the other side. And it was just like, okay, so at Tribal, they're all stars and they've done this before, but pre-gaming, that's fine.
And not to mention, like you said, as a producer, I fucking hate pregame, and I know when people are lying to me too. That's the other part that really pisses me off. Is like I feel like a teacher all of a sudden, and I felt that for you really hard when you were talking about it on Keep Your Torch Lit, because I one related, but also it felt like if you're gonna be a producer, if you're gonna be involved, and you can't respect the thing that you work on, that is upsetting to me, and that makes me feel very upset, not only for you, but at the idea that like when you're making an all-stars, and then the other idea is like, how do we fix this? And it's like, I don't fucking know. You just tell everyone the cast, and then it becomes a free for all, and it there's no real solution. But I certainly felt for you when you express that, and it makes me sad that like when people make these games that their priority is all-stars and not like actually building like real sort of bonds and relating to people.
And I think
Yeah.
the producers actually, with that day one vote off, were trying to put everyone on an even playing field. Because I know Ian and Brady have said that their goal there was to make everybody pregame. Because not everyone necessarily had been pre-gaming. So this was their way of like, clearly, most of you are pre-game, but some of you aren't. So for those of you that aren't, here's the kick in the butt, go pre-game. I took it as, okay, well, whoever didn't have good friendships coming in is screwed, which was going to be the season 4 people and was going to be Tom, just because, no, like I said, Keep Your Torch Lit, no one really liked Tom. So it was just kind of, yeah, so it was just going to be one of those, like, okay, if you didn't make friendships going in, that's on you. I didn't realize that it was supposed to be a kick in the butt to pregame, because why would you assume the producers are trying to get you to break their own rules?
I think it's because they were like, okay, pregame, because it's an all-star season and it's expected to happen. Kind of like a little bit with like last season with how the 4 returnees all met up. It's like that was kind of a little bit of pregame because it was bound to happen, even though everybody knew they wouldn't stick together. And it's just expected in an all-star season, kind of, at this point. that you at least know people.
Yeah, but it just is it's a bummer that like people can't allow themselves to be free. You know, that they can't essentially remove the fear of being voted out. That's what they're doing. They're overcompensating for the fear of getting voted out early by pre-gaming, and nobody wants an authentic experience. But not to dwell too much on like what I didn't like. Actually, I really like the way that you played in this first episode, and I think that
Thank you.
your game has nothing to do with the placement you've received, because I thought you were very manipulative in all the right Survivor ways. Lee, I was wondering how you felt about the strategy of these games. I know I liked it a lot in this round, up until Sam fucked everything up. But I don't know how you felt, Lee.
This was a good episode because there were a lot of funny people. Strategy is very subjective to me. I kind of don't care. But if you are entertaining to me, then like you were very funny this episode, Akshay. I kept like rewinding confessionals to be like, wait, what did he say again? Like the whole like I don't know y'all about white people. Why do you like stripping? And then I was like
Seriously.
kind of flicking back. Everyone strips. I don't get why. Why do you do? I hate confident people. Stop being confident. And then the whole like, oh, Lucy's arrogant. Don't like her. She's such a sorority girl. Other than that, she's a lovely person.
That one's one of my favorites. I was hoping the whole time. I was just like, please let that get in, please let that get in. And then I saw it in the trailer. I was like, yes, it's in.
Yeah, other than that, she's a lovely person. Because you know everyone in these survivors is like, oh, I can't seem like I hate these people. Oh, just for anyone watching, these are all subjective. Don't go attacking these people. Other things.
Please
If you're
don't.
getting
Yeah,
offended,
Lee, you have to tell your fans to chill out, Lee. Like your fans are rabid.
yeah, all three of you, calm down. Stop attacking people. If you're getting upset over a college survivor, what's wrong? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, if you're getting upset
And
and you weren't playing, if you were playing, reasonable.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was
Anyway,
just like, I
let's
got a
talk.
little upset.
All right, let's go back about talking shit about these people.
Mm.
So
Yes.
Well, so I had a question for Akshay, which is the sentiment got thrown around a lot this episode that I was curious about, which was that season 4 people either weren't as connected or didn't really matter, sort of the sentiment around season 4. And I wanted to know what you thought. Like, I wanted to know the thoughts of that a little bit more, because having just watched season 4, I was really a big fan of someone like AJ, because I think that they are really an interesting player. To me, people who get voted off earlier are always interesting because they want it so badly. But then there's people like Tom, who I think is very obvious what his deal is and like how he's going to play. There's people like Jackson, who Shore, and Megan, who I love. Why did that sentiment arise from season 4 people, from the other people on the cast?
The producer sentiment of season 4 was that it sucked, and I was very much a part of that. And it was Dale was steamrolling. Shannon played good, but Dale steamrolled too much. And then but as a whole, it felt very steamrolly. It was like Toki Doki's doing whatever they want, and then Dale's gonna win. And then lo and behold, Final Four is all Toki Doki, and Dale won. So it was just like we all felt that it was a very boring season, and like I know we had the sentiment a couple times to Ian of like, oh, I don't know how you're going to make this season good. Like, we obviously didn't see as many of the confessionals, which is where most of the just comedy gold was, and that's why we didn't have as good of a handle on how good the season could have been, and then eventually was. So we were just seeing challenges and tribals, which were quite boring and quite predictable. And so with Tom, he one of the worst players we've ever had in terms of like actually playing the game of Survivor. And then AJ, he goes by AJ now. I apologize. Wasn't bad, but he just it was I think just a classic first time player's mistake. I think Sarah Gallagher made the same her first season. I think Noah made a similar one his season. It was just bad luck on a very strong tribe. And then Megan, I know there was like a Megan fan group when season 4 was playing, but in the game it felt like
there
Megan
still is.
didn't do anything. Yeah, exactly. But in the game, while it was happening, I should say, it felt like Megan didn't do anything, and she just kind of went with whatever Jack said, and that's kind of, maybe that was a lot of like us as producers just knowing the returnees and just putting everything through their lens. Um, but it felt like everything on El Norte was whatever Jack wanted, and so it kind of felt like Megan just fell into whatever Jack wanted. And then when she went home, it was like, okay, and then she's done. She wasn't really relevant to this season. And then with Jackson, it really felt like he was the only true player from season 4 that came back. Where if on any other season, Jackson might very well win, because it's just that he was closely aligned with Dale, and Dale took the first shot, or at least the better shot, at him. And so that's why it was sort of just like, Tom is pointless. AJ had a bad run, and we don't really know anything about him. And Megan was pointless, but just made it further. So like that's where the like season 4 is whatever sentiment kind of came from. And then also, of course, just the fact that 1 through 3 had all been producers together for season 4. So we just had longer time to build those relationships. And right after season 4 was the summer. So there was opportunity really to build those relationships with season 4, and especially Tom and AJ, who went home second and third boots in their season. So it was just one of those situations where, oh yeah, season 4, they exist, and they were the smallest group. It was season 1 and season 4 both had 4 people, but season 1 had been there from the start, and we were friends with everyone. We had produced everyone else's seasons, so it was like, yeah, season 1 has 4, but we're relevant. Season 4 has 4, but they're not relevant, and that's kind of where it came from.
Because I was really worried about that sentiment for season 1, the sort of, who cares, we don't really need this. Lee, how did you feel about the seasons and like each group as they are from their own season, right? Because I think it is like a really interesting mix of players.
Yeah. I think season 1, it's understandable why there's not that many people, because a lot of the big players were like, they were seniors at the time. Liz, Thal, Brittany. I'm running out of people. And then with
they were all seniors.
Matthew Israel.
Matthew already played again. I have to throw that in there.
I know.
Yeah.
Season 2 is the best season, so there's a lot of people to pick from. That's my opinion, and it is correct.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of options there. And again, a lot of the great players were seniors. Maggie, Sarah X, Jack already came back. Yeah, that's it. And then
Sam technically, he just came back.
Sam as well, but he's back again. Who am I forgetting? Season 3. Well, we all know the drama of season 3.
We got the drama. We've got the outer rings of the drama.
Yeah, like the whole Aaron versus Emily P. Bully
like
versus Innocent.
It's like Aaron and Emily are in the center, and then you have Will, and everyone's sort of like a step out from that.
Basically what it was. You're not even wrong.
Yeah, and then I feel like with season 4, I know the producer said this a lot in their Why We Cast These People podcast, that with a couple of season 4 players, they can see them returning in future seasons, while with other past players, they're like, okay, this is their senior year, or they're most likely not going to come back, so we want to see them. Well, for people like Katie, Camilla, people I can see returning from season 4 that were actually decent, they're like, we can easily bring them back for a second season. And we all know with All Stars, it's called All. Oh, sorry.
I think that was slightly BS, their reasoning. I'll give some insider information on that. I think us as producers, when season 4 was happening, it's funny now seeing just the major Camilla stands and how there shall be no Camilla slander ever. But at the time, I remember we were slightly annoyed with Camilla. We obviously couldn't see her confessionals, which is again where most of her just like true comedy gold was. But Camilla in person, there was, and this is a slightly sexist opinion that I'm fully acknowledge that, but there was a thing of she was too flirty. Because she had flirted with Jack, she flirted with Sam, she flirted with Cooper, and like she flirted with Cooper consistently. And like even the tribal she went home, she would be like, "Oh, Cooper," like, and it was just like we were all just like, "Oh, stop." And then when she went home early, it was just like, okay, whatever, like we didn't realize we had lost as good of a character as we had. And so I think that sentiment was still there as of the casting time period of season 5, thrown in on the fact they think she turned in her app late and she didn't put that much effort into it. And it was like, she's an average player that we all kind of got annoyed with. And late app and not good app. We don't need her. And then with Katie, Katie, I don't think was very exciting as a player. And for All Stars, they really, really wanted excite. I think that's why someone like Tom made it, just because he's gonna have drama for however long he's gonna be there. Whereas Katie was very quiet, very go with the flow. Even when she got betrayed, she was like, "That's fine. I still just want to work with people and make it further," which is not very exciting, especially for an All-Star season. And so, like, I get they had to give the politically correct answers. We all know I've never been good at that, so I think that's the real reasons for why those people want to cast.
Well, and I also think that is part of why I know a lot of people. It's been the Discord's been popping off of like, why is Emily B back, or this person, all these pre-merge nobodies. And I just think that like there's no reason why we shouldn't be giving everybody a chance and see what they have to offer. But I'm always going to trust, actually what you say about these characters in the game, right? About these people in the game, where you're like, oh, I don't really want to work with Tom, or I don't really want to work, or like, AJ was kind of like on the outs, because to me that makes more sense. Like, you have met these people, talked to these people, connect with them, and we're just like viewers. I think the viewers are a little annoying. I think they're a little uppity about who they think is actually interesting when they themselves are probably not very interesting.
Also, let's say this: it's a college all-star It's not college all-stars. It's college who is available. Like, even look at Maryland all-stars. Half of those people, they're not all-stars. And then some of these people, not all-star. It's pretty. I kind of want to call it. I want to call these more second chance seasons, despite Dylan being there. I would much rather if they just call it Survivor Michigan Second Chance Revenge Tour, because then it would kind of make more sense with everyone. Just get rid of the whole name All Stars. Even the actual Survivor All Stars, they were not All Stars.
Yeah. Well,
I think I likened it to Game Changers, where it was just like, these people are not game changers, but it's just a bunch of people that came back. So that's kind of what I felt like, where it was just like, yeah, no, most of these people are not all stars, but they came back.
Yeah.
So therefore, all stars.
Yeah, it's like, oh great, you're here. Now we're gonna change the title to Survivor Michigan Some Stars.
Barely the stars. Well, actually, this brings me to a question of you talked about it a little bit in the episode, but I wanted to know what watching season 1 was like for you, and the experiences you had taken away from season 1 that you wanted to apply to season 5 here. What was like the growth, the changes, the things you internalized about playing Survivor that made you who you are?
Yeah, most of season 1 I loved. Obviously, I've talked about on a couple different podcasts how like a lot of my confessionals got lost in season 1. So there's like a 3 or 4 episode period where my confessionals disappear, and everyone who was doing Edgic lost their mind when that happened, because they thought I was totally irrelevant. And I was like, that's why you can't believe Edgic for colleges. But that's
I hate Edgic for College Survivor.
Exactly.
I'll say it. I'm sorry. I fucking hate it. All right, sorry.
I hate it, period. These people are not human.
Yeah. And so, but as a whole, it was like the first 3 or so episodes, you can see that I'm completely, honestly dominating, like, because I'm in that central alliance on Neela with Cooper and Levana, out of which I have better relationships with both Cooper and Levana. And then I had a separate relationship with Angela. So I felt like I was fully insulated. Then I disappeared for 5 episodes. And in between, there was pretending to be an asshole, but I wasn't able to say I was pretending because my confessional for that disappeared. And then Kickgate, which again, I wasn't allowed to say that I was a total lie, that I was embellishing, because my confessional for that disappeared. And so, like, and then of course, like the penultimate episode for me, where it revealed that I was having like the serious difficulties mentally just adjusting as a college freshman, and it was seeping into the game. And then the last episode where it was like, even then, I was just like, why are these people not voting out Alex? Why are these people not voting out an Alex? And then they voted me, and then lo and behold, an Alex ended up winning, which I just thought love you, Aaron. And which I just thought was, the most obvious, like, you should have kept me. So there wasn't that much growth, honestly. Just I was like, don't pretend to be an asshole as much, just because everyone knows my personality now. And I think that was the biggest change. It was like season 1 for the first 3 or 4 weeks in public, I was acting just slightly more reserved or like slightly more expressive than I would have actually been, just because I was trying to either like, I'm a freshman. I was trying to just make a character. And then season 5, I came back and it was just like everyone knows who I am. If I'm just overly nice all the time, no one's going to believe that. So let me just be completely honest. This is who I am, and let's see how it works. And I think it would have worked fine if not for 2 completely out of my hand scenarios that led to me going home.
Now that you bring, should we talk about MessageGate?
Pulling a Mitch.
Pulling a Mitch, MessageGate, email. Wait, no, EmailGate, something different.
Was EmailGate just a Ben bomb but reverse? Also, actually, I have to say, what you said on Keep Your Charge said about like with the Ben bomb, it should be said before the votes are read. I completely agree with you. I am like mad in retrospect. You know what I mean? Like, there's like, there are rules to a society, even in Fake Survivor.
It was technically sent before he was voted out. I think that's what he kept being told. That's what
I kept telling him before the votes. And then lo and behold, I wasn't there the episode that he gets voted out, or the tribal that he gets voted out, and he did it after the votes. And I was just like, that was literally what we were trying to prevent. But
well, if that never happened, we wouldn't. If that didn't happen, we wouldn't have Emily P versus Aaron the saga.
Which honestly, in some
I
ways,
think we would.
It
just wouldn't have been a stream.
Yeah. I do think we probably would have had it now in like, I found out you said all these things about me.
I found out that you're a complete bitch. So that's interesting.
I'm not using that word.
Anyway, Sam Gate. Sam, my jaw was on the floor. But actually what I thought you had done in this round that was so great was that you kind of really pulled the wool over AJ's eyes and like essentially got them to do something that you were able to run with and then spread it around. When you read that message from Sam, did you feel like, oh great, everything I did worked? Or was it a little more like,
the AJ half was at the beginning where it was just like this will either be 4-3 on AJ or 6-1 on Akshay. The AJ half was first, and I was just like, oh, perfect, 4-3 on AJ. That's exactly what I'm hoping for even more than that. And then or 6-1 on Akshay, and I was just like, excuse me. Because at this point, I knew that my name had come up as the day 1 vote out, but I just thought that was just like okay, well, day 1 vote out didn't happen. It doesn't matter. I didn't realize that people took that and ran with it, and that there was any potential for me going home. Obviously, as we all know, never would have been 6-1. Aaron was never voting me out. Through Aaron, I don't think Dylan was probably ever going to vote me out. Can't say the same for the other 4 because they did, but it was never going to be 6-1. And obviously, like Sam was, and I think the deleted scenes, Ian literally labeled it Sam and Lucy being like completely misreading the game. So Sam and Lucy did not completely understand where I was, what I was doing, didn't understand my relationship with Aaron. I don't think many people realize, other than Chloe and Brady, which is great because they weren't playing, didn't realize how close I was with Aaron. So that would have been a great relationship for us. Granted, it didn't end up, it honestly probably ended up backfiring for her more than me. I went home, but now she's in just like the worst position ever just because she tried to defend me. But she's been in bad positions before and survived week after week after week. So we'll see what she can do with that. But yeah, it was also really weird because it happened like right when I got woken up by an alarm to go to class. So I'm still like half tired. Like my eyes are probably still half closed. And I'm just like reading, why? Love you too. And then I'm just like reading. I was like, why did Megan message me and Aaron message me? And what is like this group? What? Huh? And then like boom, I was awake just like that. So it was a very weird process just because of how it happened in the morning. But yeah, it was shocking to see the 6'1" me. I was just like, excuse me, 6'1" me? Like, even in that moment, you're just like, you question everything. Like, is everyone lying to me? No, Aaron is not voting me out. It's not 6'1" me, but is it gonna be 5'2" me? Like, it went from there's no chance I'm going home to I'm definitely have a chance of going home. And it's actually a confessional that didn't make either the episode or the deleted scenes, where I was just like, I said, even season 1, there was not a single tribal that I went to going in where I legitimately thought I had a chance of going home, other than the final 9 one where Angela went home, because I was just like, I was in control of the early Neela votes. And then when Levana went home, I thought I had pulled the wool over Maison's eyes, and I did not. Then we knew Dahl had the idol. And then at Merge, I thought, I never thought it was going to go to Rocks. I thought Maison was going to turn on Cooper. And then final 9, I was like, I could go home. And then final 8, I was like, there's no way I'm going to go home. They're not going to vote for me and like split the vote for me over the Alexes. And then they did. But so like this was the first time really going into a tribal, having interacted with everyone, that I was just like, oh my God, I could go home. And that was a scary thought process. And lo and behold, it came true.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's also hard, I think, because I'm curious how much say you had in the like target of Lucy. And I'm curious because in my opinion, there's, you're looking, are you looking for Sam and Lucy to vote with you and maybe vote out one of the people from season 4? Or are you thinking of blindsiding a big duo? Because there's, I think, a lot to be analyzed in like whose vote you could have had should you have targeted a certain person. And it always changes based on who the target is. And I'm wondering how much say you had, because we saw Erin sort of godfather herself into saying, well, it's going to be Lucy and you fucked up. How much say did you have in like who you were targeting as a group of 3?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, Lucy kind of annoyed everyone other than maybe Sam on night 1. So she just turned herself into a tiny bit of a target. And I used that to get AJ to say, Lucy, and let's make this alliance against frat sororities, and then took the anti-alliance to Sam and being like, look, AJ is going after Lucy, let's take him out. And so with that, I kind of got, that's how Lucy's name kind of got out into the stratosphere in general. And then once Sam Gate happened, it was just sort of like, I need to talk to anyone that makes sure it isn't me. And so, there's a message like you'll see for a second in the actual episode, and then a little bit more expanded into the lead scenes of me and Aaron at McDonald's after we had Idol searched at North Campus. And that was the one where Aaron was just like, yeah, it's going to be Lucy. It was primarily her decision to take out Lucy. And like she even says in the lead scene, she was just like, yeah, it would suck to go home because of that. Like I wouldn't want to go home because of that. And I was just like, I would honestly prefer Sam goes home just because I think he's a bigger threat. But I don't have any power clearly because I was a potentially easy vote. So Aaron, my life is in your hands. I kind of was just like, yeah, whatever you want. And then she said Lucy. And then again, I said on Keep Your Torch Lit, I met up with Lucy and we had just the worst conversation ever. She was super condescending. And I just did not appreciate the way she talked to me in that conversation. So I went into that conversation thinking like, if Lucy's just like, yeah, Sam effed up, should we work together and take out AJ? I probably would have been okay with it. And instead Lucy came in and just like, I heard you been saying that name. Why should I save you? And I was just like, never mind. I'm totally cool. Lucy, bye. And then it was not as much Lucy bye as I was hoping, but yeah.
Yeah. Lucy's definitely, I think she saw hers. Sorry, I'm just joking. I think constantly the things people were saying to her on season 2 on how she did nothing, she's now doing the complete opposite and trying to do everything and very much overdoing it.
Yeah.
Lucy, the stands still love you, but girl, you're like, I know you want to be in control and you don't want people to call you a floater, but not godfathering it does not help. I know it's probably too late to
I did
say
not
this
realize
because
how
it's
many
3 years in the past.
I did not realize how many Lucy stands there were until this episode. Because damn, in the comments there were either people that were like so sad Akshay went home, but so happy Lucy's still here, or just like screw Akshay, Lucy, you're a queen. Like those were the only two reactions. It was basically, I was like, damn, I didn't realize Lucy had that many
I
fans.
know.
She didn't even do anything season 2.
Lucy is going to take over the world and survive and make other people survive on islands.
I was really surprised by that sentiment too. And season 2 is a season that I'm like such a Nick fan, and it was always so funny to me to see the sort of counter response to Nick, and maybe I'm just like, I love how much Nick hates the world, but I was really surprised too actually to see that like Lucy had such a large following. But when when it started to look like, oh, it's either going to be Akshay, Sam, or Lucy, I was like, well, I hope Akshay makes it. That was sort of my sentiment. And I really saw, it's funny, like Sam being able to come out of what is like one of the most major screw ups I've ever seen, like even worse than Mitch in some ways, come out the other side unscathed, is crazy. And I think a testament to who Sam is as a player, which is like a guy who has a lot of good connections and good relationships that end up keeping him in the game. And I was really excited at the idea of that kind of player being taken out so soon. And to circle back a little bit to what you had talked about in terms of like, why am I an easy first vote? I think that's a totally valid question. And it's something I hate about All-Star seasons, which is like, what's the easy move to get us past this very, very first round? And I'm curious actually, like, how you feel about like an easy move versus like an actual strategic move, and what were you thinking in terms of like, here's how we get through this first round from the beginning to even, the point where it became Lucy and all that stuff for you.
I would argue week 1 is always a little bit of anyone but me feeling, just because no one wants to be the first boot. Like that's just, especially in an all-star season where we all are back for a second chance. I waited literally longer than anyone except Sarah Gallagher. And then someone mentioned in the comments, they're like, Sarah Gallagher played Buffalo, so you waited longer than anyone. I was like, oh, you're right. So you know what we're saying? I waited literally longer than anyone to play again. So it was just like, just don't be the first boot, just don't be the first boot, just don't be the first boot. Kind of just kept being like and so with day 1 vote off, I was going to be super happy because I was like, even if I'm voted out first after that, I'm not the day 1 vote off, therefore I'm not the first boot. So like I was almost like positive for that. Lo and behold, I was closer to being the day 1 vote off than I thought too. But yeah, so I think week 1 of an all-star season, week 1 of any season, but particularly an all-star season of people that have played before, you'll get a lot of people trying to play safe. And I don't know if that's playing safe necessarily, of me just saying I don't want it to be me. And I don't think, like, honestly, the way I talked, I said I want it to be anyone but me, and then I tried to make sure AJ targeted Lucy and Sam and Lucy targeted AJ. So like anyone but me, but target who I want you to target at the same time. So I don't know. I guess I'm saying one thing and doing another. Maybe that backfired. I guess it did backfire because Sam pulled a Mitch, and then AJ talked to Sam, and then somehow that was my fault that Sam pulled a Mitch, and then lo and behold, I'm gone.
I think the reason why it's your fault is Adam told AJ told, this name thing's gonna get confusing. I'm horrible at names. AJ told Sam.
They use both. It's good. They said it in Discord. It's all good.
Yeah, it's something like AJ told Sam, oh, the only reason I'm targeting Lucy is because Akshay said, let's target Lucy. And Sam was like, well, the only reason I'm targeting you is because Akshay told me that you told. So it was very much like, common person. I can't speak today. I don't know why.
Well, it's the commonality, but it's also like a great way to sort of skirt the blame of actually targeting one another. Is to say, oh my God, us two very smart people, we were totally fooled, which is, a little BS.
This person tricked us both. They are a threat. We had to get rid of them.
Yeah. And
also, can I just mention, you were on a try with a winner. How is his name not mentioned once? How is Dylan's name never mentioned?
A little bit of, I honestly thought he was going to be the day 1 vote off because I wasn't talking to anyone, and I was just like, if we're going to have one winner back, everyone's going to vote him, right? Like, and then Aaron like was just like, honey, no, like, sweetie, that's not how that's going to work. Like, there's sort of like Erin's like the survivor mom at that moment, just like it's okay, honey. It's not going to go the way you think it is, which I didn't understand. But I think that goes back to the producer sentiment of not only did Dylan back into that win a little bit because I think a lot of us felt Erin was the big one, should have won. If it wasn't a final two, would have won. Then second off, I think a lot of us producers also felt that Devin had done most of the moves. He had made that alliance of the two of them. He had been the one to turn on his group and also take out all the threats, and just didn't get the credit because of how annoying Zabu Zabu was in the jury chat and turned people off of him. And so I think that's why a lot of us just didn't consider Dylan a big winner threat, despite being a winner. Like,
I mean,
and
he is
I
the
think
worst winner
you
out
could
of the
say,
four Michigan ones.
like, I don't think many of us considered Mallory a big winner threat in the moment. I think a lot of us producers thought Nick should have won, and we didn't think Dylan was a big producer or a big winner threat because we thought either Devin should have won in the final two or Erin in the final three. So it was just like, yeah, Tarowski and Dale are the big hitting winners, and Mallory and Dylan were the other winners. So that's why I was just kind of like, yeah, he was there, but no one really looked at him as too much of like, he's a winner, you got to get him out, just because we didn't think he played as strong of a winning game in his own season. So it wasn't that threatening.
Yeah. And something that I think you talked about, but I think is true is that like your whole season was out there. You were a known loyal player. You were loyal to the people you were loyal with. You got a little scared by a fake idol, which I think is totally valid to be scared in the late pre-merge or late post-merge about an idol. And you had this sort of proven track record of being a very loyal player. And I think that Erin was the same and Dylan, that like there is this loyal group. And it kind of fascinates me that essentially your life was in the hands of people from season 4 who, you know, probably hadn't been around, definitely didn't know season 3 or season 2 at all, right? And were people who were fairly new to the mix, essentially getting the power to make the decision with not as much of the history and knowledge that all the rest of you had. And I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but I think that's such an interesting like result because I think memory clouds people's judgment. I think you are a loyal player, and you talked about it, and it's a surprise when people aren't loyal to you back because they're almost like over scheming, as you mentioned with some people.
I think with Megan in particular, and then slightly, I don't know as much about AJ, but Megan just was not a Survivor Michigan fan, so she knew nothing about my game. And so like that loyalty factor of Lavana and Angela, I would have got like murdered. I would have killed for them, would have fought to the death to save them. Cooper, obviously not. I knew he was a big threat from the start, but Lavana and Angela were my two. And then the fact that my season was out there, I just kind of assumed. And then, the fact everyone knew I fell for a fake idol, I was an idiot. Like, I just thought all those things would help me. I will give credit to Megan and AJ. I don't think any of us realized that they were as close as they were. That out of the other 5 of us, I think we just assumed they were like, yeah, they're 2 other season 4 people. They're 2 free agents. And I think we both kind of thought of them that way. Where Megan will probably go with Sam just because they would talk more, and 8th place alliance, and AJ was a total free agent because he went home so early, or they went home, sorry, so early, and no one really knew their game. And they definitely kept hidden how close they were, especially even like on day 1. Lucy, AJ, and Megan walked home together, and so we didn't think those 3 were going to do anything. And really they didn't. I don't think that led to anything. But we didn't realize right after that it was Megan and AJ that then walked off on their own, and they talked. And like, I think maybe we would have put it together slightly more in that situation. But yeah, we had no clue Megan and AJ were as close as they were. And so we didn't realize we were putting it in their hands, really. We thought, and then by the time it got down to the voting period, we felt that Sam had emotionally manipulated AJ into being on their side. And so it really was the 3 of us, me, Erin, and Dylan, the 3 of them, AJ, Sam, and Lucy. And we thought Megan was on her own in the middle. We just, AJ was like, yeah, AJ's probably voting for me because he's not responding to any of, or they are not responding to any of us. And so it's Megan in the middle, and Aaron trusted Megan, I trusted Megan. Clearly Sam trusted Megan, Lucy trusted Megan, and we had no clue that it was
Everybody trusts
AJ and
Megan.
Megan deciding everything. Yeah, so Megan put herself in the best position. I think she's not getting nearly enough credit in the edit or by the audience for how well she did this first week. Maybe because based on the edit, her and AJ did it together, so they're getting credit together, which we didn't realize. But Megan had all of us wrapped around her finger, and she chose to get, well, two of them together chose to get rid of me.
I have to go pretty soon, but I just want to say one more thing, actually, which is that you were completely right in the challenge, and I am so disgusted that your tribe would not listen to you and not like follow the exact same path to go get the torches, and instead, like, how does it feel watching that back and sort of seeing that, and also knowing that Kevin just fucking threw the torch? Like, what were your sentiments in the challenge? Because that was really quite the come from behind victory that you almost had.
Yeah, I mean, I was the caller for the first part, and I honestly thought we were doing better than we were. I don't get how we were so far behind Sangria, because we were going at the exact same pace. We didn't drop any water. It was like clearly Yellow Tribe's doing horrendous, and then Red and Blue are even, and then somehow Red had a 10-minute advantage on us, and I was like, what? How did that happen? And then everyone
I think that
was
happened
stripped
because
to get
Sarah
into the
Gallagher kept
fountain.
putting her water in somebody else's bucket.
Yeah. Oh, true. Forgot about that.
What water?
Then,
She had like a cup that was like shattered into a million pieces.
And then everyone stripped to get into the fountain. Our dominoes were really quick, and then we were running, and maybe it was my thought of, I'm a producer. We normally put everything in the same place, and partially the realistic, like, they're not going to put 3 individual torches in 3 different places, because those look suspicious. 3 torches together, it's like, oh, that's for a thing. 3 torches in 3 different places are like someone accidentally left a torch here. And it was like, logically, let's just eliminate that place. Either there is no torch there and we need to look other places, or they put all 3 in the same place and we succeed immediately. So I was like, there's nothing bad to go check out. But obviously in the first challenge, I'm not going to yell at everyone and be like, let's go, especially if it's not there. And I just made everyone waste time, and we end up losing. And then there's another like, oh, actually made us waste time and we lost. And then I even said in my confessional, I was like, these idiots, if they just listen to me, like, we won the challenge. Instead, I'm on a blue tribe in the exact same place, losing the first challenge. So it was a very frustrating situation. And especially when Bailey like collapsed near the end, we were like, oh my God, are we actually gonna like just run him down at the end? Like, this is great. So like, it ended up being much closer than it should have been. And even, they didn't mention this in the episode, but I got told later, the reason Yellow Tribe even looked where the torches ended up being was because we were on the other side. So they just wanted to look the exact opposite of where we were. And so if we had just gone there to where the torches were, they would have gone to the other side and still not found the torch until much later. So there was just so many things that had to come together. People not listening to me, us choosing not to go where they are, those Yellow Tribe just choosing to go opposite of us. And it all came together into us choking away a lead in a challenge that we totally should have won. And it was very frustrating. And it's even more frustrating now seeing the end result of me not going home because people didn't listen to me. It's just like, we shouldn't have even been in that position. And instead, I'm the first food.
Yeah. I have to head out, but I just want to say actually that I think all of this, it's very hard to be a first boot. And I think even more so in a game that's going to be so public and so seen. But I want you to know that I think that you did not play poorly whatsoever. It was a close vote, and not only that, but I think that you are someone I was really looking forward to seeing back, because I think you're a wonderful personality, a wonderful confessionalist, and I hope that you are proud of everything you do, and that this is just a step and like a drop in the bucket for you, because I was really such a fan of you, and I think that no matter what, you are a great addition to College Survivor. And I know it's hard, and also now everyone's talking about it all the time, but you were fantastic. So thank you for joining us. I really I mean, I'm gonna go. You can still talk to Lee, but thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
have a lot of support. I don't know if you watched that live after episode where
King Anders.
Anders just goes off the rails defending you,
Correctly, yeah.
going crazy. He's like, Akshay went home? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Good luck.
Andrews and Shane both messaged me. I've become sort of friends with them through just the Survivor community, and they both ended up on the after show. But there was a lot of people upset, and I think that made me feel a little bit better because I think the worst thing that could have happened was I remember like at Maryland or something where someone went home and they were just like, well, it sucks that they went home, but if all the people, like, at least they're gone early and now it's the exciting people left, and I think I was really worried of that sentiment when if I went home early, I was like, please just don't let that happen to me. Like, please make me like, don't it just be like, okay, Akshay's gone, great. At least it wasn't someone important first boot. But no, it feels like as a whole, the sentiment is significantly more leaning towards, no, why did he have to go first? Which is, and I even said multiple times, I was always it's better to be the first boot than the second boot because no one remembers who the second boot was, but everyone always remembers the first boots. So I'm gonna be remembered.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, iconic first boot. Speaking of iconic first boots, this is definitely not stolen from any other podcast. But I have Survivor placement rankings.
Okay, I'm gonna scoot while you lead in his stats. Thank you so much, guys, and I can't wait to watch the season. Bye, guys.
Bye. So yeah, like I said, this is completely not stolen from any other podcast. This is very original. I rank the players' placements, and we have to put you somewhere since you are now iconic first boot. I will say this: you're definitely either 1 or 2. So where should we put you in this? So obviously, the first boot ever, Sarah Gallagher. And number 2 is Richard. 3, Noah. 4 is Aaron Murphy. Not Aaron from season 3, Ice Cream and Vodka Aaron. That's how everyone remembers her. So I'm kind of curious. Now, speaking from an unbiased standard, where would you rank the first boot of All Stars?
Speaking from an unbiased standard, I think, unlike Sarah Gallagher, the reason I went home had nothing to do with me. I think it was because of the day one vote off by the producers and Sam pulling a Mitch. I think if either of those two things do not happen, I pull off a brilliant move where AJ is targeting Lucy, Lucy's targeting AJ, and I get no votes. Whereas Sarah Gallagher made the legendary mistake of choosing not to message or meet with everyone on her tribe, which led to me in particular not having any interest in working with her, and thanks to my close relationships with Cooper and Lavanna, turning that against her. So I believe that I should be currently, out of all the legendary first boots, which, to be fair, it's just Sarah Gallagher and I out of the legendary first boots, I believe I should be the first ranked, unbiasedly.
Yeah. Now, I'm not just saying this because you're here. I probably would put you first. I think I am going to put you first because, like you said, a lot of things that resulted in you going home is not your fault. Samgate, that's obviously Sam's fault. Day one vote, that's the producer's fault. Yeah. Day one vote. People don't do it. If you're going to make a college survivor, don't even insist doing a day one vote. You'll waste your time. And I don't know if you know this, your vote off is the very first ever 4-3 vote in Michigan history. So the fact that it was that close to keep you off, you made history!
Yay! I didn't realize our final sevens were so boring leading into that.
Yeah, literally almost all of them were 6-1. Maggie's was 6-1. Cooper's is probably the only other interesting one. But other than that, all the other final sevens were... Yeah, 3-3-1 with 3-2 vote, and then 6-1, 6-1, and then 5-2. So yeah, your final sevens are very boring. But congratulations, you are number 1 out of the first boots. I'll decide a color later once I figure out what the merge is. Unless you're willing to share. Another thing I want to quickly talk about, I'll just okay. One quick thing I want to talk about. We talk about Megan hiding relationships, which she's very not known for doing. Did you guys believe the whole breakup between Jackson and Megan?
I honestly didn't even know they were dating until like right before the season started, and then Aaron was like, "By the way, did you know that like not Aaron, that Jackson and Megan had dated?" And I was just like, "Oh, what? No." I was like, are they still together? And then Aaron was like, I don't know. Like they say they're not, but I don't know if I believe them. So that it was just like sort of like things to have in your mind later, just because I was like, that's something only if Megan and Jackson ever come together. And I think realistically, I never thought Jackson would make it very far. I was just like, Jackson's gonna be gone first boot, second, even if they come together and like Jackson survives till swap, Jackson's gonna be the first one gone at swap. So it was just like never really a big deal. But it was definitely like, I'm not gonna say too much about Jackson to Megan, but even then, Aaron and Jackson, probably out of all the people in Survivor Michigan, excluding Megan because they were dating, I would say Jackson was closest to Aaron. And because I was close to Aaron, I was like, that is a potential ally. So it was just sort of like, if they're still dating, that means Megan's a potential ally. And if they're not dating, then Jackson's a big threat and he's going to go home anyways. And then potentially Jackson will work with Aaron. And then I'll maybe get to decide whether I want to work with Jackson and Aaron or take Jackson out, but still work with Aaron. You know, so it was like a potential thing to worry about in the future. But like, I think it's in the first week, it just didn't end up mattering at all.
Yeah, I actually asked when I was doing the Michigan draft picks. I asked, are they actually dating, or is this just a ruse? Because I kind of still don't believe they're dating because they're very opposite people.
Yes. No, there was always like as
opposites attract.
producers of season 4, we were always just like rooting for a showmance, I think, because we just thought that would make it more interesting. And there was definitely some flirting going on between Megan and Jackson at certain challenge, like the one where they had to hold the cup up with their arm up. There was a lot of like they were standing next to each other. There was a lot of whispering in ears, a lot of what felt like flirting from our point of view between the two of them. And so when like Aaron told me that Junior Jackson and Megan dated, it was like, oh, that's not even surprising. And then that's why it wasn't as big a surprise for us. It was almost like, oh my god, we got our like couple from Survivor. And yeah, so it wasn't shocking for us from the producer's point of view, but I can see where it would be more surprising from the viewer's point of view.
Yeah, we got our Rob and Amber. Well, Rob and Amber 2.0. Maggie and Jeremy are still the number one.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, wasn't that the challenge where Jackson just kept telling Megan that she's not worth anything in this game? I specifically remember a challenge where he... No, it was during season 4. It was like they were holding each other up, and for some reason Jackson just kept saying to Megan, it's like, you're not important in this game. Maybe that's just something that made up in my mind.
Megan has blamed me for that challenge because, as we know, I stepped in as a guest or backup guest host. Yeah, for that challenge. And, I've always been brutally honest, and as a host, you need some zingers. And so I remember in that challenge, I said something like, Megan has not moved at all, just like she has this whole challenge. And I thought I said challenge. I might have said game. And so I remember like right after we lost the first challenge, we all went as a tribe to an ice cream place in Ann Arbor. And Megan was semi-mad about that. She was just like, I still remember when we were doing the cup challenge and you were like, I have done nothing in this game. And I was like, I said that? Like, I did not believe I said that. And even if I said it, I didn't mean it as like, yeah, she's been worthless in this game. I meant literally like she hadn't moved the entire challenge. She was just like holding her arm up, not moving. But yeah, I think she took that personally slightly, and maybe that's another reason why she decided to send me home. That's my headcanon behind it. But yeah, that
Survivor
happened.
People taking things personally. Who would have thought?
Yeah. Never.
Everybody knows this game. Nobody takes things personally. Everyone loves each other.
Never.
Never.
That's how season 1 felt, honestly. But
well, times have changed in season 1. You guys have actual quality. There's mics. There's good cameras.
And then season 3 happened, really.
And then season 3 happened, and yeah, that's a very accurate statement. It's like season 1, season 2, season 3, and then there's 4 down there.
Yeah, basically. In terms of how people personally felt about one another. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been very open with saying how 4 is the worst season.
Yeah,
I think
I
I've
mean,
even said it to
I
these
still
people.
stand by that.
I mean,
Out of the first 5 seasons, I think it's clear that season 4 is just the worst one, and that's not saying too much anti-season 4. It's just that seasons 1, 2, 3, and 5 were just better, like just objectively. But season 4 was also a steamroll, so it's also not very exciting.
yeah. I mean, not every season's gonna be good. There's always gonna be one dull season.
Yeah, and at least we had great characters and great confessionals that season.
Yeah, that was a good confessionals. I do remember being annoyed with a lot of people, but I just tend to get annoyed very easily. Like this entire episode, whenever Tom was on, I just kept skipping to, okay, let's just get past this
I did
confessional because I knew
too. I was just like, I'm just skipping him. He's irrelevant anyways. Like, whatever.
Yeah, it's like whenever Tom was on, whenever Leia was on, there's a number of people I just like, I know I'm not going to root for these people, so let's just keep, I don't need to hear what they say.
With
And
Tom, it's
I
just
do
like,
want
I know that even if he makes it far, it will be through no agency of his own, probably. It'll just because
oh yeah,
people are just like, oh, he'll be a good target to take out later. So I'm just like, I don't even need to hear his opinion on what's going on in the game because it's probably not accurate.
yeah, he's going to be the cat of the season, just much less entertaining.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I kind of wish I knew the producers wouldn't be able to do this, but it was like it's a cast of 22, but Cat's there, and then it's like he's talking and Cat's. It would be for a bit, and she'd be like, "Nah, I'm out." Right, Cat's no
Yeah.
longer in the season. She probably
Yeah,
wouldn't have.
Kat would
But she maybe
never
would have
have
done it
played
for the
along.
laugh.
She would never have
No,
played
it's
along
like
with that. She hates us.
she actively despises you. She's
Yeah.
the reason why she's in the ROTC is because she's training to hunt you down. I probably should not say that.
Basically. It's probably true.
Yeah, who knows? I also kind of want to talk about. It kind of gets to the series. You did mention this on Keep Your Torch list. How you and Bree, you are the only. Well, you, Bree, and Kevin are the only people of color in the tribe, and it's very
Yep.
important for representation. We're getting that through the actual Survivor, and I know a lot of people could say, well, maybe not that people apply in Called Survivor. So if you want to speak out on that while you're here, if you can, what am I doing? Would you like
I
to
mean,
speak on that?
like I
Just
said
for a
on
bit?
Keep Your Torch lit, the first for seasons 2, 3, and 4 in particular. I won't speak for season 1, but 2, 3, and 4, we were just focused on big characters, and I know we really didn't care about diversity. I know I pushed slightly to get people of color to the interview stage, like from application to interview stage. But if their interviews were boring, I wasn't like, doesn't matter if they're boring, we need to push them through. In fact, I was probably the opposite. There was certain people in season 3 that was a person of color that I was like I want them to go through as a person of color, but their interview was really boring. And other people were just like, no, they need to go through. They've applied seasons 1 and 2 also. They care about this game clearly. So yeah, I'm probably part of the problem, partially just because we were so focused on season 1 was good. It's our first time doing this, and we just need to make sure people stay interested. Season 4, I would say I actually was not involved in casting at all that season, just because that casting occurred during a winter break where I was out of the country. But seasons 2 and 3, I was much more involved in the casting process. And 2, as our first season, we were just like, don't really care about their color, like just get them in. And then, ironically enough, that was probably our best in terms of diversity, where we had AJ, Sarah, Chidi, and Bree. Not that 4 people, and Kevin. Sorry, and Kevin. So not that 5 out of 18 is that great on people of color, but it's probably our best of seasons 1 through 4 in terms of people of color. And then I think it was just one of those things where we just didn't put any focus on it until we got to All Stars, and we realized that Bree and I, and then we both realized, oh, and Kevin too, because Kevin, has a white name, more white passing. It was just like, yeah, me and Bree are the dark skinned, not necessarily white names, clearly representative of our cultures. And that's I think the first time I put it together, and maybe that's coming from a place of privilege, but that's the first time I put it together in Survivor, that like, oh wait, there really aren't, like, I would make that joke all the time that like, oh, I'm the only brown dude that stayed, like, but there really aren't that many people of color at all in all of Survivor Michigan, but it's in particular 3 out of 21 in All Stars. is really, really bad. And so I would argue, like, yeah, part of it was people of color weren't applying, but even when they were, we weren't looking at color at all. We were what is it, like race blind casting, which again is, I think, coming from a place of privilege from us, where we just didn't think it would be important and we wanted to put on a good TV show. And I think we've seen in the CBS show like how good their edict has been of getting 50% people of color at least representation, and how important it is to have, because like even with the 50% people of color representation, Karishma is still the only Indian American player to ever be on CBS Survivor, and Hannah Chadha is the only half Indian American player to ever make it on Big Brother US. So like, despite that 50% edict, like there's still not like races that are missed. There's not that many Indian people. There are a few more South Asians, obviously, but in terms of Indian American specific, which is what I am, there are really not that many, even on the CBS shows. So it's something that we need to work on a lot, and especially someone like with me, I was very Indian. Like it wasn't just like, yeah, my name is Akshay, whatever. Like, and like, yeah, I have brown skin, but I'm white and everything else. Like, no, I was, you know, I was part of an Indian dance team. I was part, like, I didn't really even listen to white music. I only listened to Bollywood music. And so, and like, I made that quite clear all the time. I would make jokes about Indian people, or just like our culture. And like I said, I think it took until All Stars where once I got the text from Aaron at 3 p.m. on day one of you might be going home first, like I went to text people that I had things in common with, or at least could make a big impact. And I texted Sam because 8th place, and he had most of season 2 wrapped around his finger. I texted Cooper because we worked together for the first half of season 1, and I knew he could potentially convince Leia if I could convince him. And then I was like, Brie, people of color, is there going to be anyone else who's a person of color that's going to play All Stars? Probably not. And that was, I think, the first time I realized, I was like, wow, that's the only other person of color that I can think of that's going to play All Stars. And like, I don't think, like I said, in Keep Your Torch, I don't think anybody's racist. I don't think anybody said, this is the Indian guy, we're going to send him home. I don't think anybody said, this is the Indian guy, we're going to send him, like, he's going to be the day one vote out. I don't think that consciously race had anything to play with me going home first. I think like the unconscious implicit biases that people have built, where Brie, myself, and then Kevin slightly look different, act different, and I think someone said we got immediately othered, and especially I immediately got othered, where I was the consensus day one vote off. I was the one where no one was going to defend. If we went to a swap, I had no one to work with, none of which were true, but it was just a narrative that people picked up and ran with, and everyone seemed to believe it. And so it was just very disappointing to see play out. And like I said, I think it had a part to play in me being the consensus day one vote off, and some of the things that Lucy and Sam said of, he doesn't have anyone but us. Even if we let him get to a swap, he still won't have anyone. I think part of that did have to do with the implicit biases, and it's just one of those things where everyone needs to look at themselves and, realize that they may be there and they might not even realize it. Like, I'm not saying this is their fault. I'm just saying that it may exist, and if it may exist, they just need to look into their hearts and make sure it does not. And if it does, they need to do the work to get rid of those biases, which society has brought. It's not their fault. It's like I said, it's nature versus nurture. I think it's nurture. And I think we can do better, and I think we hopefully will do better in the future. And I can say we will do better because I was part of casting for season 6 and 7. So we will do better in the future on people of color, on diversity, and I think it gets better. But I would say All Stars was probably the lowest point for our diversity in casting, probably for seasons 1 through 5, Survivor Michigan, for sure.
Yeah, because after you mentioned, I was thinking to other college survivors, and I was thinking about all the winners. The only ones I can think of that were people of color that are Katie, Terry, and Santi, all from Maryland. And I'm covering a Syracuse season with a friend of mine, and there's one person of color in the cast, and she explains how there's not even that many in the school. So it is definitely important to say it out there. I sometimes think that obviously I'm not a person of color, but I'm sometimes like that when I do see another like LGBT contestant. I'm like, okay, yay, something in common, and there's usually not a lot of that as well, or they go home early. Like I think somebody was even like last season how Adam was joking like, "Hi, I'm the token gay," and he's like, "Oh wait, there's two others." So
Yeah,
it's
and
something that's like
I
out.
think also with like Terry, you mentioned, I remember being so excited when Terry won, like just so freaking excited because it was just like you have this Indian guy made it really far, but like the whole time I was like, there's no way he's gonna actually win. But then that final two, the final three was an Asian woman, a black woman, and an Indian man of that season, which was just fantastic. And then an Indian man ended up winning, and it was just so exciting. It was just like, okay, it was the first time I really felt it was like, okay, an Indian person can win this game because he just did. And then you get to our season, and I made mistakes in season one, so but like Nick Hill getting
Who
sent
doesn't in
home for
Survivor?
no reason. Yeah, Nick Hill kind of just got sent home because Mitch made a mistake. That really didn't make sense to me. Um, see, and then Ajay quit, so we're just not even going to talk about him. But season three, Devin not winning and not getting the credit for the alliance he made and the moves he made. For what reason? It was just like, and it's not like, oh, Dylan did it louder. They were both very quiet people in public. And I would argue Devin was probably the louder person. And yet Devin was vilified for the moves he made, and Dylan was credited. And it was just like, you made these genius moves. And I think the only difference they might have had in their games is Dylan stole Brady's immunity. Like that's the only thing I can pick out of that was Dylan's move. Whereas most of the other moves I think were brought upon by Devin, and Dylan went with them. And I think that was the first situation in Survivor Michigan where I was just like, yeah, and I honestly probably didn't even notice it in the moment. I was just like, why didn't Devin get enough credit? Why didn't Devin get enough credit? And then it was only when I noticed me and Bree are the only people, and Kevin are the only people of color, and then I got voted out first, that I just kind of looked back at how the Indians were treated, and Nickel getting voted out for no reason, people talking down to me and Lavana, but in season one, and then me getting sent home over the Alexes. Ajay again, we're gonna ignore, and then Devin not winning. It was just another one of those moments of what links all of us together. Not much, but and it's like Sarah X needed to go so far above and beyond to be considered the consensus winner, whereas Dylan just needed to be slightly nicer than Devin to be considered the winner, which is just like, what?
I think, like you said earlier, Devin definitely kind of suffered from everybody just hating Sabu Sabu for reasons.
Yeah. No. I mean, I was in that Ponderosa chat. Sabu Sabu was quite annoying about their undying love for Devin, and that definitely
we saw the round table.
Ben and Emily P off, who were the only two real swing votes when it started, and then obviously Devin just had a bad final tribal and lost Will's vote too. But it just felt like even at that round table, like you said, we saw it. It felt like Devin wasn't getting the credit for the moves that he was making, and Dylan was getting credit for moves he didn't make, but that Devin made. And that may have just been because Cassie and Brady and Aaron were more aligned with Dylan throughout a majority of the game than Devin, and they were louder than Eliza and Emily B. Maybe Austin. Austin was pretty good at fighting for Devin. But
yeah, the spreadsheet and everything.
Yeah, he had the spreadsheet. He had 26 points. Like he came prepared. But like you see, Eliza's like holding up her hand that entire round table, and Cassie, Brady, and Aaron are just screaming across the room. So it's like maybe that had part to do with it. Like I said, Devin didn't have a great final. Like there's a lot of reasons why Devin didn't win. I want to be clear.
Yeah,
There's a
you're
lot of
not
reasons why Dylan
saying
won, a
Devin
lot of
did
reasons why
not win
Devin didn't.
because you're not saying
No, not
Devin
at
did
all.
not
But
win
I'm just
because
saying
he's
that
a person of color.
but I'm just saying the moment where it came to differentiate these two, all the positives went to Dylan and all the negatives went to Devin. And I think, like I said, that it's one of those moments where in the moment, again, I didn't even notice it. A lot of people, I think I agree that I don't think Cassie or Brady or Aaron were just like, no, it's because of Devin was Indy. No, it's because they were working with Dylan. Like I would be the same. But I think the reason of people being so accepting of Dylan probably did it and not Devin, maybe there's another reason behind that.
Yeah, the hatred of Savu Savu. They'll forever be hated.
Forever. Just the most hated tribe in Survivor Michigan.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody loves Neela. Everyone loves Maison. Everybody hates Savu Savu.
We love Eliza.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we like Eliza. Andrew seems cool. And of course,
Andrew Crouch is a very nice person. Yes. Rest in peace. We're happy he's back.
Yeah, well done for that. Part of me kind of wants him to get rocked out again. It's a little evil.
But, it's a little evil, but like for the drama, for the meme.
Yeah, for the memes. Like imagine only being sent home by rocks.
You got 0 votes 2 seasons in a row and just get sent home by rocks.
Yeah. He'll just hate rocks forever. I was going to say something about season 1, but then I immediately forgot it. Oh well, it escaped my mind, like half this cast. Oh, is there anything else you want to talk about? Like anything you just want to get off your chest?
I don't know. I did my roast of all 20 other people on Keep Your Torch Lit, so I feel like that would be a little repetitive, wouldn't it?
Yeah. If you want to go and see Akshay tear everyone in this cast and almost everyone in this cast a new one, check out Keep Your Torch Lit. Almost everyone. He does say some nice things.
Yeah.
Go check out the Keep Your Torch Lit podcast. I don't know if you know these people, Sarah X, Sam, and sometimes Jack, depending. They might have played a college survivor that nobody's ever heard of.
Yeah, maybe Survivor Michigan season 2, and for Sam, maybe season 5 also. Who knows?
Yeah, only.
I will say that was the first time Sam and I ever spoke about my vote out week, and it was 10 minutes after the episode premiered. So you will get a lot of very raw emotion. Thank you, Harry. You'll get a lot of very raw emotion, and a lot of the anger that built up for 3 years at Sam, amongst others. A lot of it came out. Sarah X, I love. She's probably one of my closest friends from Survivor Michigan, so you'll see our dynamic also. But yeah, it was more raw emotion than this one probably. This one was just like everything that the secret scenes released, and then a lot of the other stuff that got missed. Threw it out there, but Keep Your Torch Lit has a lot of the raw emotion, a lot of anger, a lot of sadness. In the week since, I've gotten over it slightly. I don't know if I'm ever going to get over it realistically, but it's less emotional today, as you can tell.
Yeah. I was going to say something. I was going to ask how are you feeling now compared to Keep Your Torch Lit, since that was like very at the time, and this is very okay. I have a week to think about it. I'm still upset, but not like about to crawl on the floor, cry.
Still upset, but I feel like I almost got more love after the episode than I did when I got voted out. And that's gonna sound rude. I got so much love from Aaron and Chloe and Brady and Katie Reed, the producer, and like I mentioned, Bailey and Dylan reaching out, and then Andrew in class reaching out. Like, yes, I got a lot of love at that time, but it was just all super, 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 super raw. I don't know how much of that love I processed. And, it was something I was thinking about a lot for like at least a couple weeks after my vote out. Once, I'll spoil this. I don't think it's a spoiler. I started to help produce a couple weeks after, because they mentioned that I remember Matthew did my pregame confessional, and he just kind of said, like, for the people that get voted out very early, we'll give them 1 week to cool down, and then we won't add them to any of the producer chats, but they can come, they can help film, they can help set up challenges, things like that. And so I did get back into that, slightly, not too much. I didn't want to interact with a lot of these people still, but
The occasional Aaron filming confessional.
yeah, basically. So it wasn't like horrendous, but at the time it was just like Survivor stayed fresh in the mind, so the love that I was getting didn't really process, and then a lot of the love I didn't get just because a lot of the people were still playing Survivor. And then of course I got, like I mentioned, my Emily P beef happened a few weeks after my vote out, which I was not happy with the situation, how it played out, her responses, and that's part of the reason why we're not friends and don't talk anymore. But this time it was almost weirder, where like, because it was coming from strangers, it felt better, where it was just like with Chloe and Brady and Aaron, I was already friends with them. And like Katie Reed, they were always going to say nice things to me, just because, like, yes, they felt bad because they love me as a person, but because they love me as a person, they were always going to be like, it sucks, like, you deserve to go further, we hate this for you. Whereas with the amount of people in the comments who I've never interacted with my entire life, like, they know nothing about me other than Survivor Michigan and just the character I've been on 2 seasons, and the producer and cameos I've made in the background, those people are also heartbroken and also gutted, and they're also sad that I got voted out first. And I think that's where a lot of that, like, okay, this has been an almost overwhelmingly positive. I think there was one person that was like, Akshay, get Lucy's name out your mouth. And I was like, I don't know you. But like almost overwhelmingly positive, with people I don't know and don't, like, have no reason to say positive things about me, and then say, like, type a YouTube comment saying positive things about me, and they still did. So I think that's where it's a lot of, like, people are upset that I went home first, which I was worried they wouldn't be, and people are not just like, when I brought up implicit bias, people aren't like, oh, he's using the race card. No, they seem to understand it, and then people are just like absolutely actually upset that I went home, that I've never met, and have no reason to type out a YouTube comment in solidarity for me, but they did. So I just really appreciate all those people. And all those little things helped. Every single comment that was positive helped. The negative one did not help. You need to just lay off your keyboard. But all the positive comments helped a lot, and it helped. And the fact that it's been 3 years also helped a tiny bit.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that this was not filmed during COVID, and this was like years ago. Because I saw everybody hugging, I was like, oh wait, this was filmed like back in 2018.
Yeah, I remember walking up and just hugging everyone, and then as I'm hugging people, I'm just like, I wouldn't hug you if we weren't playing All-Star. Like, I would never hug Tom. I probably wouldn't have hugged Lucy. Like, there's a lot of people I would have just like not hugged, but I was just like, okay, I hugged like 10 people. I can't not hug the other 10.
Yeah, I think when the season 1 people came up, somebody's like, okay, go around and hug everyone now. Because it was like mandatory. It's like, okay, hi. Yeah, hi, hi, insert name here.
I think the only people that came after me were Cooper and Leia.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was everyone else was there already, because obviously they staggered it. We're like season 4, 3, 2, 1. And so so like me, Cooper, Leia, and Sarah were going to be the last ones there anyway. So like Sarah got there, and then I got there, and then Cooper, like, I walked up together. So when I got there, I hugged everyone. I did not hug Cooper and Leia for obvious reasons. But
because
it was.
I'm still trying to
because they need to get over
like,
themselves as people.
I'm still trying to figure out, how did you ruin their games? With Cooper, I can slightly see, okay, maybe the rock draw, but I don't even think I saw one conversation with you and Leia. The only thing I can think of The only way I can think of is how you ruined her game is when she answered your name in the question she got wrong.
Yeah.
So that's like
funny. It was.
That's how you.
It was just a case of. Yeah, I think it was just like I turned on Cooper, which, like, he was never going to make it to the end. I don't know why he thinks he was going to. Cooper's name had been in people's mouths since week 1. Everyone knew he was this massive threat. And the fact that he made it to 7, that might have been further than he would have made it anyways if we had stuck to Maison Strong, or if we had stuck to Neela Strong. Like, I think 7's pretty much where he gets right around every time. So I see why he's mad at me because I wrote down his name twice. I fell for a stupid fake idol, and he thought I was undyingly loyal to him, even though he was not to me. So like very hypocritical of him. And then with Leia, you're right. We never spoke one-on-one during the game at all. The only time we spoke in game was there was one group meetup of like the Maisons plus Cooper and I right after the merge challenge. And then obviously I ended up not voting with them, so everything in that conversation ended up not coming true. That wasn't the plan at the time, but it's what ended up happening. But other than that, Leia, I think also probably gets, because like until Cooper made Jury and tried to push us all that Leia's been this mastermind who's done everything just because he was friends with Leia. I would argue that none of us thought Leia was a threat at all for season 1. And it was only Cooper pushing that made some of us like eyes open. Oh, okay, Leia exists. Even then, I think if you saw our season 1 podcast pre All Stars, we said it would have been.
A lot of you mentioned probably Brittany winning. If it was Brittany, Leia, and Mitch.
Yeah, if it was Brittany, Leia, Mitch, I think we said it probably comes down to Angela and I in that situation, weirdly enough. I have no clue where Angela votes because I have no clue how close she was to Angela to Leia or Brittany. I don't know how many. I think Mitch gets 1 vote from Leia, or from Mitch might not get any votes in that situation. But it comes down to Angela and myself. I probably vote Brittany just on a personal level because, like I've said many times, Brittany's one of my closest friends from season 1 since that time. And what a character development that would be in a single season of Kickgate and then voting for Brittany for the winner. But so it's probably Brittany winning. So I don't think Leia wins anyway. I think Leia gets closer. I think Leia probably gets second. But I still don't think Leia wins, even if I suddenly join their side and don't fall for the fake idol. So I think it's a lot of Cooper. And then there was also a conversation that Leia and I had after her vote out, where she went and like met with me and just basically tried to convince me for 45 minutes to vote for Mitch, which was never going to happen. But she did that with a lot of people. She just tried to convince as many people as possible to vote Mitch. Obviously, she was the only Mitch vote, so it didn't work. But maybe she thought I didn't listen to her. I don't know what the situation was. But Leia is very whiny about season 1, where she thinks that was hers. Yeah, and she thinks that was like hers, and she earned it and she won it. And I was like, then be mad at Mitch because Mitch was the one that caused it to be a tie. Why are you mad at me? And then with Cooper, like I said, Cooper, he has a point. Like I did vote for him twice, but I also don't think he was ever going to make it much further than he did just because of his threat level. So he needs to get over himself. Like I said, I think he's gotten too cocky and too arrogant in the time frame. Leia was always cocky and arrogant, in my opinion. And to blame it all on me means they didn't look at the issues they had in their own game and their own shortcomings. And we'll see how that plays for them in All Stars. Maybe they may cost themselves a win again. And then I don't think they'll be able to blame me this time because I went home 21st.
They'll still find a way.
Probably.
Yeah, it's like, oh, if Akshay was if he wasn't distracting me by me focusing on him first, and I would have won, something like that. I'm just trying to think of excuses. Well, maybe. I guess we will have. I guess we will have to see how they do in Survivor Michigan All Stars, and I think that's a good place to end it, shitting on people, just like how things should be. So, thanks Akshay for coming on. Thanks Naomi for also coming on. She had to leave because she has a life. I don't. And thanks everyone for watching. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. I don't have it. And thanks everyone for watching. Tune in next time to another Survivor Michigan podcast. I might get the second boot on if I like them.
And if not, I can just tell you what happened.
Yes, if not, Akshay will come back on and he will fill in for Insert's second boot here. And tune in to also Survivor Michigan. Follow their socials, subscribe to the channel, write a nice comment in the comment section, write the mean ones in a Discord channel, which you can join. I mean, and complain there where nobody else will care. That's what I did. Actually, no, I complained on the
Perfect.
season, but I never. And we constantly shout them out. Check out the Keep Your Torch Lit podcast. Akshay shits on almost everyone in that cast. It's hilarious. It's also emotional. It's everything you wanted in the Survivor season, but more, minus the voting.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all next
Episode
time
2
for
comes out
another.
Wednesday. Everyone watch it.
Yeah, or if you're me, Thursday. The joys of living in a different time zone.
True.
So we'll check you guys out next time and see you whenever. Bye.
Bye.